Okay, well, I think I'll go ahead and open it because I think Hema, you have to sign off at 10:30. Is that right? So we'll get started and let people continue to sign on. And thank you everyone for being here. I'm Trish Wesevich, and we're going to be discussing CPG today, consumer product goods. And so we have three speakers who have very different backgrounds and expertises on and different perspectives on consumer product goods. So we have Kellie Nutt from Central Market, DJ Lozada from Soul Popped Popcorn, and Hema Reddy from Crafty Counter, and her product is Wundernuggets. So why don't we just start and let you guys each introduce yourself. So Kellie, why don't we start with you because you're in the left top corner of my screen.
Hi, my name is Kellie. I've been working with Central Market for, over 17 years now, and I've been in the food, beverage, and hospitality industry since I was 16 years old. So this is all I know.
Wow, I did not know that. And so what did you do before you started at Central Market?
Before I was at Central Market, I was kind of split in a couple ways. I worked in nonprofit and in hotels as a wedding and event planner.
Oh, wow. And so when you started at Central Market, what was your first position there?
I was recruited here I was at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center for a while. And then they recruited me into catering because food was my background. And I was at the time kind of thinking about if I was going to go to culinary school or not. And they came calling and I was like, oh, this is a great fit. So jumped right in and haven't looked back.
Nice. Okay, DJ, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about your journey into launching your product?
Good morning, everyone. So I started Soul Popped. I can't believe it's going on 5 years now. Started in 2016 and born out of need more than out of desire. Had some life-altering events around my health and found myself needing to feed my family and could make pretty awesome popcorn and decided to sell it. Started with $53 and we're still here today, popping popcorn.
And tell us a little bit more about, I know you very well. And I know you're quite the expert flavorist. So I like your story about, why you chose popcorn to create these fabulous flavors that you have. So tell us about that.
Popcorn is a natural carrier for flavor. It's an empty canvas. It really is. And so I figured out very early because I have a son who has Asperger's and he has texture issues. And if I wanted to get him to try a new food, I could get him to eat popcorn first. And if he liked that flavor, I could slowly introduce the food. And so I never knew I was doing anything special. I thought every mom could make food taste like anything she wanted it to. So I would make cheeseburger popcorn and pizza popcorn, whatever. It was just, I could just do it. And so eventually it occurred to me when I started Soul Popped, if you're not innovating, you have to have something that sets you apart. You can't just make popcorn because everybody can do that. But what can I do? What can I authentically do to bring to popcorn that I had never seen done before? And soul food is the food of my heritage. I'm a Southern woman from Raleigh, North Carolina. And so I had never seen soul food flavors on popcorn. So that's why I decided if I was going to be in this food lane, I would do it so that I could own the category for myself. I invented it. And so I came up with fried chicken popcorn, which is vegan, just using herbs and spices out of my kitchen cabinet. And then the next one I did was macaroni and cheese. And the third one I did was banana pudding, because if I were cooking a true Southern meal, those would be the combination of foods I put together. Just over time, I came up with like countless flavors from recipes that I just kind of instinctively knew how to do. And I'm still using those same recipes today.
Wow, that's a great story. And I know we'll dig down deeper into how you figured out how to package it and preserve it or make it still taste fresh and all that. So I want to hear more about that. Hema, why don't you tell us about your background and how you ended up in food?
Funny story. Well, I am not from a food, I mean, much like DJ, is not like I had my backing in food. I come from the corporate background. So I was at IBM for 14 years and I did all kinds of roles there. As a person, I just get anxious when I'm not learning and growing. And in a corporate world, sometimes it can be limited, but I still carved my own path there. But the whole time I had something inching at me. I was restless and I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. And so when my daughter was sleeping through the night and I could function as a human being with more than 6 hours of sleep, that's when I decided to, take a risk. I was like, okay, I'm going all in. I want to get into food. I don't know how because all my friends were from Dell and, AMD and Intel. So I started by talking to folks like Trish, folks like Joy Chevalier on the call that have been so helpful, to help me get a real understanding of what CPG is all about and how do you start, the risks involved, the commitment and the conviction you would need, because boy, oh boy, this is hard. It's like, I thought I could nail it because I've done some pretty darn hard, things at IBM, but this is just like a whole another level. And so thanks to our friends and advisors in Austin, I was able to get Crafty Counter. It was known as Sneaky Apron back in 2017, but we rebranded because we got a cease and desist by Blue Apron. So we had to change our name. So we're Crafty Counter. Our product is called Wundernuggets, and the first retailer, Kellie, thank you very much, it was Central Market. First we did a little foray with the SFC, Sustainable Food Center, Farmers Market. For about 5 months, I got a lot of validation. So if people not in my mom's club were coming back for repeat purchases, I knew we had something. So that's when through KE, somehow we started talking to Central Market, and then the buyer Central Market was like, yeah, come on board. It was very easy transition for us, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. The store will always be special to me. So now we've expanded after Central Market. We have increased our footprint into Walmart, so a little over 600 locations of Walmart, and yay, very excited. In May, we're going to be on shelf in Target. And the online retailer Thrive Market, they've got over 1 million subscribers. So we hope to really increase our visibility for the products throughout the country. And while we have Wundernuggets in the market, which is basically, sorry, I should explain, they are plant-based vegan nuggets made with lentils and fresh veggies, seeds, and seasonings. And we wanted to be very culturally inclusive. So each of the flavors represent a different part of the continent. So one, we have Indian flavor, we have Mediterranean flavor, and then the African harissa flavor. And we're coming up with some cool products to complement our existing spread. And so I'm just really excited to be out here. And thank you for the opportunity, Trish. And it's always good to see you other days. So thanks.
So thank you so much, each of you. Why don't we just, I know there's a lot of people who don't have a product or who have different backgrounds, maybe in food or not even in food whatsoever. And so they don't have any idea, like the beginning, very baby steps, ABCs of taking a product to market. So Kellie, why don't you just tell us from the grocery store perspective, what that's like, distribution and reaching out what a buyer is and just the basics. Why don't you just cover that for us?
I could cover all kinds of topics for you here with product, but I mean, there's 1,000 things to talk about, and I've got notes, but I like to say when you're getting started, as with anything, relationships are super, super important. When you have the passion for your product, you need other people to have the passion for the product that you have. And so bring it to the stores that you want to be in, bring it to the employees and the people that are going to be helping you sell that product when you eventually get there, and have them try it. I always say solicit feedback at the beginning because that's a really good time to listen and find out really what you think, or the grocery perspective of what you think consumers are going to want, because you may really think it fits a lifestyle or a specific category. But if your consumers don't follow what you're following, then it's going to be a harder buy-in. Get that feedback. If you need to kind of adjust maybe a flavor profile or anything like that, maybe sometimes it's an ingredient list. Sometimes it's one particular ingredient. What can you do without kind of compromising that? And then once you get that feedback, then go back and say, all right, I listened, here's what I have. And then start talking about, how can I get in your store? How can I get it to your hands? Like, what do you think? Somebody might at that point say, you know what, we really need to look at packaging, or we really need to look at something like that. And these are all tangents I could go off about, and I'm happy to talk about. But once you kind of get through that, really push for it. And then begin the procurement process. Put in your application, talk to the buyer, and follow up. I think follow up is really, really important. Find out where you are in the process and ask those folks in the store that you've built that relationship with, ask them to follow up with you. Hey, I have people asking for it. I've got it at the farmer's market now. I've got a customer base. Tell your customers that have the product maybe currently to ask at the grocery store. That's really going to continue to remind the grocer that your product is important to get on the shelf. I think one of my favorite things to see, seeing Hema and DJ talk about their product today, like that's it, that's my jam. I love seeing people that are passionate about their product and have found their niche. And I wanna make sure that it continues to fill that space for those customers based on how they feel. But times thousands of products, it can fall off somebody's radar. So you just have to kind of keep being persistent with that. And that's the same with that procurement process. That consistency starts there and it never kind of goes away. You just have to keep at it. So, that's kind of that process, just in a little quick nutshell from my perspective. Do you guys have something to add to that?
I just want to add to what Kelly just said. So agree on the persistence, because oftentimes if a retailer says no, it's just like what investors say, it may not be the right time, because there's so much constraints that you're working with. That's what I've learned to understand and respect and appreciate. And you get so many requests for new products. It may not be the right time in terms of space on shelf and other factors you're dealing through. Oftentimes we build a relationship with a buyer or the category manager, and they have changed roles and there's turnover in the company and they've get reassigned to different tables. And what we've learned is those reassignments happen because the store wants to be honest to new brands, so that oftentimes sometimes the buyers build relationship with existing brands, and then there's quid pro quo, and they don't want to have those past relationships affect their future placements, and so that new brands continue to get sufficient attention. So there's so many things on the other side, being very empathetic with the retailer and the constraints that they're dealing with, and truly understanding what makes them win. And in return, it makes their job easier. That empathy has really helped me position our products in the conversation from me, my product, versus how this will help your store and your customer. And it's a very important switch that will probably turn a lot of no's into yeses over time.
And DJ, your product is not in the grocery, is not retailed in grocery stores. So tell us about, what other options or what your experience has been and how you retail your product.
Well, my product is pretty much direct to consumer, and we do a lot of wholesaling to like resorts. So I just over time evolved into thinking that Soul Pop is more of an experience brand. And it's like, we want to be everywhere good memories are created. So if it's at a concert or a stadium or at a resort, we wanted to be in those types of places. And partly what was driving my decision to do that is I don't preserve my product in traditional methods. So my shelf life does not kind of adhere to what a grocery retailer would be looking for. And when it was time to make those decisions, partly because I didn't personally know how, I mean, I knew I could preserve it with like nitrogen. But when I talked to my customers out at the farmer's market, who are my soul poppers, they were the ones that were sustaining me. The feedback I was getting was, we really like the product unpreserved. We would rather it stay unchanged. And because that was my customer base at the time, I kept laser focused on what they wanted. And to this day, 5 years later, we're still an unpreserved product. I have gotten better with packaging, understanding how packaging can keep the product fresher longer, and understanding how humectants work and what ingredients pull moisture and what ingredients take moisture away. So that has been kind of how I've evolved. And when I think about being in grocery, I always say when the right fit comes along, I'll know it. And I've had some great interactions. I found that the people who have approached me have been very helpful and wanting to help. But, you know, it's all based off of what you can do with your resources. And I just found that it just wasn't the right timing for me personally. And so Soul Popped is still kind of that brand that's doing it the old fashioned way. I started out in farmers markets. Now we have our own retail location. Before COVID, we were getting offers from all over the country to come open Soul Pop locations there, because we do this really cool thing where we customize our popcorn flavors for our customers on the spot. So you can come into one of our stores and you can say, I want a pineapple upside down cake popcorn. We literally make you a popcorn that tastes like pineapple upside down cake. And because of COVID, our pivot, we now do that online. So our customers can go online and order, customize their flavors. And that evolution has boxed me in a way where I feel like, how do I deliver that same experience on a grocery shelf? Since I've kind of trained my customers to expect that. And so that's one of the daily challenges that I still kind of tussle with, is how to live in both worlds successfully.
Wow. Okay, so we have a question from Katie Leisman, who I happen to know has a brand called Jake and Juvies, and she has a question for you, Kellie, and maybe Kellie, just maybe talk about some of the things you also had on your list that you just wanted to address.
Sure. I think Katie was asking big no-nos when approaching employees. That's a great question. I had to think about that for a second. Timing. Timing is everything, everywhere. Don't take a lot of time with employees, because like labor is tight, you know, and we want to get product on the shelf. But at the same time, maybe you find out what day isn't like the big truck day or whatever it is, or find out when a team meeting or huddle is. I know in central market stores, we huddle every day, sometimes multiple times a day for, 5 to 10 minutes just to talk about the day. Sometimes if we have been working with somebody on their product, on like tasting it and trying it week after week, like we're committed to that. We'll bring you in real fast and we'll say, hey, talk about it. You got 2 minutes, and bringing product for employees. I know sometimes can feel like you're just dumping stuff and it's free, but if you've talked to those 6 people and those 6 people are going to get that product, give them the product, let them try it, let them talk about it. I have a vendor that likes to come in every couple of weeks, and we love them. It's actually, you guys probably know them, Richard's Rainwater. And if he's got, an extra 6-pack, 12-pack, whatever on his truck, he'll put it in the break room. And it's been awesome, because then our partners will take a water and they remember that, and then they buy that water again. I have a yogurt that's trying to expand their line right now here. And so they're bringing in some of the flavors, and the partners love it. I mean, we shop here too. So I think that's important, because then you're also building that customer base. So the no-nos, I would say, are probably just timing. And then, people don't necessarily like being dropped in on, sometimes we're running to one thing or another. So if you have, like, if you see me, grab me. If you need to meet the grocery manager, that's what I'm here for. You know, let me get you to the person that's going to be eventually controlling where your product goes and in and out and all of that stuff. So if there's somebody in a store that can help you do that. And then just don't take a ton of their time, and follow up, just lots and lots and lots of follow up. I think that's super important. I think in all the years, I've only had, I can recall like 1 to 2 vendors that were kind of like oddly aggressive, and not in the way that you want to see, like in an actual aggressive kind of way. And I was like, whoa, like, we want your product here too, but like, don't get mad at me about it, you know? So I would just say, you know, don't be that person, but very few have ever been. So that's what I would say. And then I think, let's see, in the chat, there were some other questions. How important is having a product that follows trends? Is it sustainable? Yes, it is important to have product that follows trends. It depends on the trend though. So if you're coming in with a line that is, you know, solely based on trend, you know, I always say kind of check your business plan. What is your short and long-term goals on that? If you're a trend follower, be ready with the next product, because it's going to be as quick in as it is as quick out. I like Hema's approach, DJ's approach, where you have all the flavors, you have all the varieties. So you could take a base product and oftentimes give it a trendy flavor, a trendy spin, a trendy tag, vegan, you know, keto, gluten-free. These aren't trends, but these are diet trends that non-diet specific people pick up on. So let's say you're not vegan, but you want more plant-based in your life. They're going to pick up on that. So if your product can be that in some way, great. Same with gluten-free, same with keto, same with paleo, same with all of these things and all of these flavors. So also, like, man, trends are hard and some of them stick around. I mean, look at the cauliflower thing, the avocado toast thing. Like, I think of some of these food trends. GT, do you have these as flavors?
I don't, but I'm giggling because I forgot I was on camera for a minute. I was giggling because I think the same thing. I was like, what is the deal with the cauliflower? Like, but it really is a thing now, and I'm buying it.
Me too. I
me.
Well. Like, Hema, your flavors are on point with stuff. Like, I'm like, yes, harissa, yes, I use harissa, and I have been for forever, but it's like some of this other stuff I thought was a trend and it's hanging on. So I think be picky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know on that one.
It also makes it, so the one caveat to also the trends, the positives and negatives to continue what Kelly was saying is that it can get expensive. So for example, talking about cauliflower, I mean, if you're late in catching the trend, what Kelly alluded to earlier is like, be ready for the next product. There's a lot of depth in that comment, because if you are like getting into the trend when there's like 100 people ahead of you, getting into the shelf is much harder. You'd have to spend more money promoting why people should now look at you when they're looking at cauliflower pizza. And so like the good example is cauliflower, that also pizza crust. They came in a little after, they started on the same time, but it was much harder. Their growth is not as fast as cauliflower because they came in big, they came in strong, they spent a lot of money, they had conviction, and they became $100 million, brand in like less than 3 years. But if you're not fast enough, and if you're coming to if you don't have your act together to conquer the market and dominate the shelf, then it's just going to be a very tricky situation. So something to watch out for trends is that some people do follow them. Some people, if you are following them, then be very careful about your timing, like Kelly said, because you're going to end up spending a lot more money, spending a lot more cycles trying to convince the buyers why you and why not the 10 other people that are there in front of you, unless there's a strong differentiation. And cauliflower tried to say we have fresh cauliflower versus cauliflower using powdered. But by that time, nobody was giving a damn about it. Like, they were already convinced of the earlier brand. So So yeah, so there are some challenges to following trends. You could still make a really cool niche for your products if it's not in a trend, but it meets a need. It still brings a few moments of relief, a lifestyle element to a person's life. At the end of the day, it's about what difference am I going to make in that 24 hours that is there. A person is living and breathing in their lifestyle and their food choices. Can I elevate that experience a little bit or meet an unmet need? Oftentimes, I feel like that is more important than chasing the trend.
You say it so beautifully. That's exactly how I feel. I think Ellen was asking a question that I wanted to tag on to what you had said. Hema, she was talking about distribution, building. Let's see, her question says, understand how working with distributors work. And yes, I want to talk about that, but I was going to add just for a second on what Hema said. If trendy is your jam, and if that's your thing, in the procurement process, if part of maybe a deal that you have with a store is to be an exclusive product, be careful with that. I think we could talk a lot about just this in particular. However, maybe the spin for you for that exclusivity is that trend. Maybe it's that trendy flavor or it's that trendy product that meets that specific market for that retailer. Maybe it's that lifestyle retailer like Hema was talking about. So it could very well work, but I would kind of save those things for those particular deals that you might be asked to make, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So the distribution process, oh my gosh, I took notes and I have a whole section on distribution here, but I'm not gonna speak a ton about it because I'm not in that specific, but like, this is one of my favorite things to talk about because it blows my mind sometimes. And I have secret dreams of wanting to be a distributor, I think, and I'm not really sure why. So maybe I'll pick at that thread. But so scalability of product is important as part of your business plan. Look at Hema's stuff. Like, she's talking about all these amazing things she got here. She's going to Target. She's going to Walmart. She can speak to what it means to find a great distributor. Now, that doesn't mean that from the very beginning, you have to have the biggest one. If local is where you start there. Get somebody good, get somebody reputable, regular, who cares about your product, who isn't going to kick it out the back door and then say bye to the whole thing, because that's kind of what distribution is. But pick somebody that you trust. Some people choose to do distribution themselves. Bless you. You're taking a chunk of your life. Yep. It's tough, but maybe that's part of your business plan for this amount of time, and just make sure that you're checking the boxes as you continue to move your product forward. Gosh. I left little notes because I could talk a lot about this, but start small, grow, again, contingent on your business plan. And then, is this distributor going to be able to get to your stores in a timely fashion? Does that distributor have an order writer within the store? What does that look like from that perspective? How is your production? Can it support what that distributor wants? Are they going to maintain your product in a warehouse that they have, and then it's going to sit there and then somebody can order pallets of the stuff? How does that communication look to you if you have opened the door to their capability of ordering 12 pallets of this product to kick out to 2 of their stores? Are you able to support that times however many people you're going to? Hema, I know you could jump in on that, and DJ, gosh, y'all too. Y'all could talk about this, I'm sure, as much as I could.
So just for those reasons that you talked about, Kelly, we avoided working with a distributor because the pricing just didn't work. Like Kellie and Unify are the two of the largest distributors. And we made a mistake trying to start working with Unify in the very beginning because there was a lot of interest in the Southwest region. To Kellie's point, to remain local, remain regional. But distributors have a lot of compression on your pricing. So if we make our product, if we want to sell our product at $375 and we want it to be on the shelf at $599, that may not be possible when you're working with larger distributors, because they add freight, they add a lot of deductions. There's some things called chargebacks, and there's horror stories about it where you send a $30,000 shipment and you get $500 paid on that. So being going into it fully aware of what your margins are and how many cuts you'd have to go make along the way and how much you'll finally get paid, having that crystal clear is very, very helpful. And working with somebody very experienced to get that kind of clarity is definitely money well spent to know your pricing. So we went to Walmart because our margins were good. A lot of people were saying that Walmart's, a large retailer, they're going to be a beast. And then guess what? Like, it doesn't gel with your brand because yours is a natural product. You need to go to Whole Foods. Well, unless Whole Foods is rolling out the red carpet for you, you can't keep waiting for them. You've got to go show traction for your product. And Whole Foods is not that much easier to work with either. They go through a distributor and at the 45%, sometimes 50% margins. So you may not be there in terms of scale to be able to accommodate that margin for your specific products. So it changes category by category. We went to Walmart and guess what? They've been phenomenal. Like, our margins are the highest with them because they don't require a certain spend. We just, deliver it to them. The distributor, the consolidation is what it's called, multi-vendor consolidation. That you have to have in order to work with Walmart. So it all worked great and our margins were great and they have been phenomenal. They pay like clockwork and there's no middleman taking a cut. But now, since we have grown, we have got a better co-packing agreement, so our margins are better. So now we can afford to go work with Katie and Unify and support the other accounts. So now we're expanding because we are in a position to do so. But I've known of other brands that have been very excited going nationwide with Sprouts or other accounts and through Katie and didn't really understand how much gets sliced and diced from your little, margin. And before they know, it's just very catastrophic for the brand, unless you have millions in funding to be able to handle your cash situation and give you the runway between when you ship the inventory. Sometimes it can be 60 days before you get paid. So there's a lot of factors. So costing analysis, pricing analysis, is very, very important when working with distributors. Because these costs can kill you in the early stages.
I think for me, if I could jump in, is just to say, I'm kind of the antithesis of that world. Once I learned how that whole distribution model worked, I literally asked myself, why would anyone want to do that on purpose? And I know that there are people, I really did. And it's like, I still have nightmare images of Soul Pop being stacked on a floor, on a pallet in some cold warehouse. That's like my child. Trish will talk to you. Trish gets on to me all the time. She's like, DJ, you gotta let go at some point. And she's right to a degree, but I think that part of that was my decision, especially as an underrepresented person in the CPG space. There just aren't a lot of people who look like me doing well in those environments. It's getting better, thank God. It's getting better. And I think part of that is not so much a desire of the end, which is the grocery retailer, to have us there. It's all that we have to do to get there. And a lot of times the resources just aren't there to have those kind of cuts and those margins that take place before you can even get your product to the grocery store. And so that really did drive a lot of my early decision-making about what I was prepared to do and what I thought I could handle. I know I can get the product directly to my customer. Of course, that limits my ability to scale. And those are real things that you have to weigh. But for me and for Soul Pop, it just felt more authentic than, it's an expensive product to make, period. It's just expensive to make. And so when I'm talking to people and they're like, oh, we need you to get that price point down to $4.99. And that's even before you're going to be on the shelf we need you to be on the shelf at no higher than $5.99. And then I have to think about the co-packer and the distributor and the buyer. Everybody's taking a cut. I'm like, I'm literally making what, a few cents on a bag of popcorn? And I'm like, yeah, no, it's not going to work for my model. So if there's anybody on this webinar that is thinking, how else can I do it besides the traditional route, which is very lucrative. And I'm still always exploring ways on how to get at least a couple of my flavors into that line, because it'll stretch me as a founder. Like, I've developed a fear of it, and I know I need to overcome that. And it's a daily challenge to like inch a little bit closer. But there are ways to be a successful CPG brand without having to deal with that process. Just put that out there. It's harder, it's probably longer, and you're not going to get you're not going to get there as fast. But the journey, if you're like a person like me, I'm just loving the journey. Most days I'm okay with that. Some days I'm not. Some days I'm like, man. But other days I feel like I'm in a good place with just really making the product fresh daily and pushing it out to my customers daily. So yeah, I just wanted to add that little bit.
I like your perspective, just because, I like people at Central Market. We do events here that are very specific. And sometimes we bring in product just for those 1 to 2 week events to help business. You should come on.
If I'm invited, I'll be there, Kelly.
Yes. Well, I'm thinking of a couple, so I'll shoot you an email. But
okay,
yes,
thank you.
Like we want makers. I'll talk from my perspective, just because we're innovators for HEB. So we're the smaller ones. We're the ones that find these products. We try to help them. We try to help grow, help circumnavigate all these things that we're discussing today, with the goal of getting product on the shelf. Now, we meet people all the time where they don't want to be more than here in Austin, San Antonio, or DFW, or just Houston. And for us, that is okay, because we meet those people there oftentimes. Sustainability doesn't always happen. You may be a shorter life product in this market, but sometimes for some products, it allows that, the perspective, first of all, it helps you run through all these channels that we're talking about. And then it helps you understand, what scalability looks like for your product, for sure. And sometimes helps you, get the funds. So then you're not having to seek outside investors in order to grow your product. So there are ways to grow, and there are ways to keep your product small. And I agree, man. DJ, you said something that touched my heart, and that was about like, this is your baby. I cannot imagine. Trish is probably like, y'all get over it and sell your products at the store. But that's how I would feel. I think if I owned a product, I'd be like, I don't know what to do. This is my baby. So I feel you on that. I like that perspective.
I think Beth is asking how has COVID and the weather affect shelf-stable products, or I guess shipping and all of that. Who wants to talk about that?
Well, so this past year for the grocery industry was a really, really good year. COVID, as much PTSD as retailers have, and we've got it, I've got it, just because of the interaction. And it's so very different from what we've ever had for everybody across the world. But everyone was at home eating and cooking. Everybody. There's nothing else to do. Netflix, eating and cooking, games. That's what you got, puzzles, whatever. So everyone came in and everyone was buying product. Now, for me, for my company, I can say it was really neat to see how we were able to turn on a dime. We have so many people wanting to cook at home. So when my bigger retailers like the H-E-Bs or the Targets or the Walmarts couldn't get in maybe the regular stuff because everyone was buying it, because we have so many hands in the pot, we were able to easily pull on to new product and get all those folks into the market. I think a lot of product lines and products grew quite large because we were able to say, well, we're not going to bring this particular canned tomato in anymore. Everybody has it, and clearly everyone's buying it everywhere else. So we're going to bring this one in and get, this is what we're going to have, and people are coming here to buy it, and then that's going to grow and blow up. So it made us better at being what we wanted to be, which I think sometimes can get lost because of the size of our company. So it felt really great from our perspective because we brought in tons of new products because our customers were eager and excited to try it. The interaction was a little different because, you know, we're usually hand-to-hand combat. We are putting food in people's mouths. We're wanting you to try it. We're excited. We know the maker. We want to be like, if you're talking to me, you're talking to the maker. Like, we're excited about that. So that was a little different, and it hurt. I'm not going to lie. Having done that particular thing for 15 years, it's been really weird. But the fun thing has been, and odd, is from that hand-to-hand interaction and talking people through how to implement it at home. It's been like, here, can you, my wife is making this. Can you talk to her and tell her why you want this product? And I'm like, hey. It's been super fun though. It's just been really interesting. That's what I have to say about getting product to shelf. Has weather affected it? Yes, weather has affected it a little bit because if things come from warehouses during times of stress, like if it were a freeze or a hurricane or whatever. So the main things that are going to come through distribution lines are going to be staples. They're going to be water. They're going to be rice. They're going to be products like this. The things that are going to fall off are going to be what's considered luxury items. Ice cream. I don't know about y'all, but I consider ice cream every day. But, you know, that's going to fall off distribution. Fancy stuff is going to fall off distribution. More staples are going to get kicked on. Uh-oh, I don't know why the lights turned out. But those things will come back quickly and have come back quickly. We've just wanted to make sure that people are fed. So it has affected it somewhat, yes, but maybe not in the capacity that we all maybe thought that it would. Does that answer your questions?
DJ, why don't you give us a day in the life of you and production, running your business, shipping, what's that all like?
So, you know, my path into food was really one of like 100% ignorance, in the sense that I had never worked in food before, and I didn't understand, like I had never even thought about it as an option, you know? And so when I developed Soul Popped, I didn't do it thinking about the process that it would take to actually make it more than once. I just made it. And then once it became a business model and I had to figure out the processes to keep the product consistent, if any of you in here have mothers or grandmothers from the South, you will probably know that we don't measure anything. We don't measure. If you want me to mess up something that I'm cooking, give me a recipe. So we're very sensory with our cooking. I look and it needs a pinch of this, and I smell it and it needs a little dash of that. And so when I came up with these recipes for Soul Popped, I didn't write anything down. I just intuitively knew how to do it over and over again. So when I began to scale and this became a real business, the challenge for me was right off the bat, can I replicate this and can I pass this on to someone else to replicate it for me? You know, how do I move that needle? And so where it's not just me making it. And honestly, I was the only person batching Soul Popped until 2019. And then slowly I started to bring new people into my sphere of operation. And when I interviewed you, instead of asking you what's your background, where have you worked, and my first question is, can you cook? Because what I realized about Soul Popped is if you didn't have cooking skills, I could not teach you how to batch my product. And so how do you deal with that in a world where everything is mechanized and everything needs to be fast and quick? So that decision to really be artisanal, intentionally artisanal, and understand that that's who we were as a brand and as a product, that hand batched. Soul food is about love. It's about what you put into your food through your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts. It's a real thing, y'all. You can believe it or not. If I go in the kitchen and I'm batching and I'm in a bad mood, it's going to show up in my food. I'm going to taste it. Okay. And if you're going through something and you're batching, I don't even know you're going through something, but I taste what you made and I can go back to you and go, what's wrong? You were having a bad day or you were having a bad moment. And so Soul Popped is one of those brands. My product is so finicky. I had to figure out the hard way. One of my first big jobs I got was doing MotoGP at Circuit of the Americas. It's the largest thing I'd ever done. And I messed up about $1,500 worth of product trying to batch Soul Pop, Austin Smoked Barbecue. And I didn't understand, like, you know, I'm making it on such a large scale. So no one taught me. I didn't know. I had to learn when you're making bigger batches, your small formulas don't work. You have to adjust it too. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't have anyone to teach me that. And so it's been kind of a journey with Soul Popped. And now I realize, now I can tell you certain powders I can't make if it's not enough moisture in the air. Or certain powders I can't make if there's too much moisture in the air. So I have to really pay attention to like what's happening atmospherically and then try to recreate that in our production rooms where we might not have, oh, it's too dry in here. Like I can hit the door and go, wait, it's not moist enough in here. We have to literally pump in steam so that particular flavor will batch easier. Am I scaring you, Kellie? I just want you to know, this is the kind of, so at the day.
No, yeah, I'm relating to you so much. I have a team that cooks on the floor and I'm like, to hear someone else say it, you're taking a box out of the am I crazy bin for me, because I'm like, let's talk what's happening today. But yes, on the large batch stuff, same here. I mean, same.
Absolutely. And what I've evolved, this product is growing me as a human being because it's teaching me more patience and more love. And so what I'm realizing is I don't lead the product leads me. Soul Pop is fully in control. I am just the vessel to make whatever it wants happen at that particular moment in time. You know, I am the servant of the brand. And that's really how I think about it, because I know when I didn't do it right, or I know when that product is wrong, and I just have to scrap it and leave it where it's at because I can't bag it up and sell it to my customers. So Trish, you know better than anybody because I call you in tears sometimes talking about what's going on in my day. But for us, it's just managing, you know, the clients, building, you know, keeping those relationships strong, trying to figure out what's the next iteration of the brand. Like when COVID hit and I had all of these ideas to open all these stores, I had to pivot because as an experienced brand, that means you have to be actually with other people in spaces where there are crowds and there are people to do that. And so that didn't work anymore. And we pivoted, and I actually started a whole new company, whole new product line called Good Trouble Gourmet. And all we do is fundraising with that model. So now I've pivoted to Soul Pop still can be the retail brand, and then Good Trouble Gourmet, which is still those funky flavors. Like my signature flavor in Good Trouble Gourmet is called the Hammy Jammy, and it tastes like sausage and strawberry jelly on popcorn, and it's vegan. So it's that kind of thing. I get to play around with flavors. I'm constantly creating new flavors. People will email me, people for weddings. They're like, you know, my husband's favorite food is apple pie. Can you make us an apple pie popcorn for our popcorn bar? And that's really given me life and joy. And I know that until some people might be cringing because that's not a great growth model, but I wake up every day just really not knowing what I'm going to be doing that day with this brand. And I love it. I really do.
You're so marketable here. I have a question though. Mm-hmm. Do you use a specific type of popcorn? Like,
absolutely.
Is this what makes it so finicky? I'm so curious.
I have so many ingredients that make it finicky. It's not even funny. And I didn't do it on purpose. It just worked out that way. Like, we only pop in coconut oil. Mm-hmm. And unbeknownst to me, popping in coconut oil is a big no-no to most co-packers. They don't want to deal with coconut oil because it's such a volatile oil. Mm-hmm. It melts at 72 degrees. So it's harder to manage, but it burns super clean.
It does. It smells great.
It burns clean. So we only pop in coconut oil. I have a specific kernel that I use. All of our kernels are non-GMO, which is a commitment of the brand. We use real herbs and spices like rosemary, sage, thyme. Those things pull, they pull moisture. Popcorn and moisture do not mix.
Yep.
So it makes it, you have to get the right balance on so many levels. So I think there are a number of products like one of the problems that I have, Kelly, and the other people on the call who may be in this, when I went to, I wanted to find a blend house to start doing my powder blends for me. And they would say, oh yeah, we'd love to blend for you, but you have to switch from this to this. Like, we have our own in-house barbecue powder, and we want you to use that. And I'm sure it's wonderful, but my flavors are, when I change an ingredient, it's weird. Like, I have to reconstruct sometimes the entire recipe just because I've changed one ingredient or one brand of the same ingredient. So I stick with the same brands. Because I know it works. Mm-hmm. And so how to overcome, I watch people like Hema. I know she's gone, and I'm in awe because I'm like, how do they figure, it's like so many layers to figure out to that. And I know they have teams. We're very small at Soul Popped. And the knowledge base isn't that deep. But I always say everybody's a beginner at some point. Before you were an expert, someone had to give you that start and you had to learn. And if we're going to grow our field, which I'm passionate about, increasing diversity in CPG, if we're ever going to have knowledge-based people in CPG, somebody's got to give them a start. Somebody's got to give them the ability to learn and grow with a brand and understand what that startup looks like and learn all of this. And so I just, on so many levels, I'm kind of forging a different path because I'm hiring people who don't have direct experience in CPG, but they have really strong skill sets in other ways and they can learn. And so, yeah, that's a long way to answer your question, but we do have very specific. Soul Popped is very, very intentional. It's an intentional brand with intentional products. And most of my formulas that I started out with in 2016 in my kitchen are my formulas today.
That's impressive. When people talk about ideas, my brain is the one that always thinks through 50 ways to make it marketable. So
I need you.
I'm sorry. I'm always like,
Have you ever tried Soul Popped?
No, I need to try it.
Okay, so
I would just said my son has Asperger's as well, and so you said cheeseburgers and flavors. I can count on cheeseburgers and pizza in my life.
We have 7 signature flavors. We have Austin smoked barbecue, which is vegan. We have banana pudding. We have chicken and waffles, which is vegetarian. We have fried chicken, which is vegan.
All my favorite foods.
Macaroni and cheese, buttered corn off the cob, and sourdough pickle.
Okay.
Those are our 7 core flavors. Now, if you go to our website, you can start with a base popcorn, salted or unsalted, and then you can check all the ingredients that you want to add. We batch it and we ship it to you.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's how I think if Trish, if you know, I feel like such an imposter sometimes sharing a stage with people like you, Kellie, and like Hema, because you're, you know, your lane is the way that people dream about getting to. You're like, people dream about talking to you and getting to the point where Hema is. And my path is so squiggly, but it's working.
Yep.
If I could say why it's working, I think maybe because the brand is as quirky as I am in some ways, but then too, it really is a differentiated product because we don't candy coat anything. It's all powder. So when you get my product, it still looks white. It looks like white popcorn. And then you bite into it and you're like, it's like a flavor explosion. It's like, how did she do that? So I take a lot of pride in that and just being different because it fits for me as the founder and it fits for the brand that I created.
I love that. I'm a food nerd, so
my
profession is this. My passion is people that love food. So
this is our bag.
Oh my God, it's brilliant.
This is one of our flavors. And this is another one. So we call these our tuxedo bags. This is chicken and waffles, the purple bag. And this is macaroni and cheese. And I remember when I first got started trying to figure out what packaging, everybody told me you can't put a premium popcorn in a black bag.
Yes, you can.
It's not done.
Yes, you
and
can.
I went, that's why I want to do it. And so in what was this, Trish? 2017? I came out with a black tuxedo bag. I designed the bag myself. This is the cummerbund. That's the stripe. And the black bag is the pant leg. So I just have fun with it. And we're known for it. But for people on the call, my struggle with this bag has been, and I know Whole Foods gave me this feedback. People won't know what it is on the shelf. You can't tell what it is. See, if you look closely, that's my logo. And then it just says Heavenly Macaroni and Cheese. It says soul food inspired popcorn, but the feedback I got from Whole Foods when they wanted to work with me is you have to change your packaging.
Huh.
And I melted. I literally, I couldn't hear anything else because it's like, what? Do you know how many people, this is like the epitome of cool and popcorn, at the farmers markets, it's a thing to see people walking around. People will have their bag of goodies from the farmers market and they tuck Soul Pop under their arm and walk around with it. And I just think that's the best compliment ever.
I actually have
they're eating Soul Pop.
I have a whole section on packaging here. And
tell us about that. Yeah, let's
talk about
packaging.
Color of your package. People want to get crazy and make it like every color of the rainbow. And I find that brands that stick are more singular in color and in design. I was going to say, I love your packaging. I couldn't see all the details in it. Yeah, see, so it's clean on the back. You've got all the little tags. It looks like it just, to me, there are some really quick things that people, there's that split second decision that people make when they're shopping. And a lot of it, I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of it is literally driven by the package. And there are a couple of important points I want to make that are left. One of them is this packaging. It needs to fit on a shelf right, y'all. You need to be able to go to a shelf. You need to look at it. And if your package is this big and everything else that goes on your shelf is this big, you're going to get lost. You're going to get lost. And that's all there is to it. Your package needs to be of a similar size in the categories. You can stand out in other ways. A beautiful package is definitely one of them. That foil pops off, that color pops off. But those quick reading points, like we talked about earlier, the gluten-free, the vegan, the whatever it is, your tags need to be prominent for those who are looking for it. It needs to be easily identifiable. Yep. Like, that's lovely. That's a lovely package, and there are your tags. You can flip it and you can get to what you need to immediately. You know, I was thinking the other day when I was thinking through this, like, for example, here's the best example I can give. If you're butter and you have a brand new fancy butter you want to bring to market, and you've got it in this package and it's really cool and it's beautiful and your label is on point, and that person buys that butter and they get home and it doesn't fit in that little spot on the fridge that you close that people put butter in, guess what? They're not going to buy your butter again. They're really weird creature of habit things is what people want time and time again. And the only offset, and I was talking to my boyfriend about this the other day, the weird offset. Think about sour cream. It's always in a little container like this, but like Daisy came out with that squirty sour cream that everybody's into, myself included. That's because it fits in the shelf with the ketchup. They're not going to set it in the spot in their fridge where the sour cream goes. You all have that spot, you know, but there's a spot for it. So if you're not going to fit within that category of the butter on your shelf, make sure you fit into the other spot on the shelf in a consumer's life. It's kind of weird and dumb to say, but it is so true with continued purchase. I think it's super important. I love your packaging. I think it's nice.
All right, guys. Well, we are right at a little over an hour. I mean, we could keep going, but I want to respect everybody's time. I don't know what your time is. And I know, Kelly, you're at work. DJ, I'm sure you have popcorn to make, but does anyone have any questions or anything closing that they want to say, they want us to know about? Or
can I say something? I just want to say thank you. I was spending some time writing everybody's names down that's here and looking people up. And there are a lot of really incredible women on this call. Some of you have met and some of you I haven't, but I just think that that's really cool. One of the things I've been missing during the pandemic is connecting with everybody. And this is just amazing. I'm not even talking to all of you, but I just feel so connected to you. So I didn't know you were going to be here, Trish. I'm so excited that you led this. You and I have been trying to get together for a while. So this is really nice. And I just want to say thanks to all of you.
Oh, thank you. Katie has a product called Jake and Juby. She sells at the farmer's market and she's looking to scale her product. So this is why we're meeting it today and talking. We're here to support you. Anybody else?
This was cool. Thank you so much for having us. This is amazing. I love seeing everybody's face.
Yes, it's so good to see everybody. And this is such a good topic. Maybe we'll have one again, you know, later in the year.
Yes, please.
I just want to say thanks for letting me guest. I'm Adam from Denver, and I told Trish via private message, I am stealing this idea and we're going to host this here, a similar idea here in Denver. I think we could get a lot out of this. We have chefs here in town, both inside the domes and outside, who are looking to launch CPG brands so that they're not totally dependent on the restaurant channel. And I think this topic would just be so helpful for them. So thanks for letting me crash.
Sure, that is a very typical topic right now. If for some of you, maybe you're on Clubhouse, but yesterday that was a very big, popular meeting. Was the restaurateurs who are looking to have other sources of revenue, and CPG is one of them. So it's a big subject right now. Yes, DJ.
Just real quick, I just want to mention that I just started a new nonprofit called the National Association of Black Food and Beverage Manufacturers, the NABFM.org. And it's not just for people who look like me, it's for us and our allies, but just to make sure that we're providing support and information and advocacy for underrepresented founders in food. And so it's brand new, and we're going to be hosting our first webinar, and you're all invited. soon.
Oh.
I'll send out a link.
Will you give us the website again?
It's NABFM.org, National Association of Food Manufacturers, of Black Food Manufacturers, NABFM.org. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank y'all so much, DJ and Kelly. Great to see you and everyone else, and we'll stay in touch.
Everyone be well.
You guys are amazing.
Bye. Oh, and this is going to be recorded, so we'll post this. There'll be a YouTube recording of this, and we'll post it, and y'all can share.
Thanks, Trish.
Okay.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.